Hello dear friends, how are you doing? Candidate Master Ranveer Mohite here, and in this video I am going to show you a beautiful game played by a 13-year-old Magnus Carlsen with the white pieces against Ernst Sipke again with the black pieces. Now this game I remember became one of the most famous games before Magnus's rise to the top, before Magnus became world number one, and there is a very beautiful idea in this game, very beautiful sacrifices. I'm sure you'll love it, so let's dive right into it. Carlsen starts the game with the move e4, c6, d4, d5, which is this opening, the Caro-Kann, one of the most famous openings that you'll find on YouTube, with the black pieces. And Carlsen plays the main line with the move knight c3. This knight protects the pawn and develops at the same time. d4 happened. Now knight e4, bishop f5. This bishop hits the knight, so the knight drops back, at the same time attacking the bishop, so the bishop has to drop back. Now Carlsen threatens the bishop with the move h4, threatening to go h5 and trap this bishop, so black has to save that, and he plays the move h6. Now white develops their knight to f6, f3. Black also develops their knight to d7. Now white pushes the pawn to h5. Now remember, black played the move h6, so now their bishop can drop back to h7. Now white decides to trade this bishop and offers a trade with the move bishop to d3. Black has no way to run away with the bishop, so black decides to capture back with bishop into d3. The queen captures back, e6. Black wants to develop their pieces, open a line for this bishop. Very logical. White develops their bishop to f4. Now look how both sides are developing their pieces. Okay, often in beginner games I see that one side just ignores their development. No, that's not how the game is played. You know, you want to develop all your pieces, you want to bring them into active positions. Only when that happens, only then you can think about attacking the other person. Okay, so that bishop f4 happens, knight f6, long castles. White gets his king to safety. Black plays the move bishop to e7, developing the bishop. Now Carlsen decides to get his knight towards the center, and just to get his knight towards the center, so he plays the move knight to e4. Black plays queen to a5. This queen hits this pawn on a2, so Carlsen defends it with the move king to b1. Black decided to go short castle, also a completely fine move. Now we have kings on the opposite flanks. Okay, white king is on the queen side and black's king is on the opposite flank on the king side. In such positions, whoever's attack crashes through first usually has the advantage. Okay, so this means in this case, if white is able to attack this king with all their pieces here, it's much easier to attack since they don't have to worry about securing the king here. It's much easier for white to attack in this position on the king side, and for black it's very easier to attack on the queen side. Whoever's attack crashes through first usually wins. Okay, so in these positions, this is where initiative makes a very big difference, and who plays, how fast your pieces come into the game, that matters. So short castle happens. Now Carlsen decides to take on f6. Knight takes f6, and he plays a very nice move, knight to e5, centralizing the knight. And not only centralizing the knight, but also from here the knight looks at all these squares, and at the same time, if white decides to push g4, this knight will also support the advance here. Okay, so very nice move. Remember this, often a very good idea to get your knight active is to put it on a centralized square. Now black plays the move rook a d8. Black sees this semi-open file for the rook and puts their rook there, and also there is white's queen here on the same line as the rook. Remember, the queen doesn't like to stand in front of the enemy rook. Okay, it hates it. So Carlsen very sensibly drops back his queen to e2. But after this queen drops back to e2, black decides, okay, now I can strike in the center. So he plays the move c5, hitting at this pawn. But there is a very beautiful idea that Carlsen has seen here. Did you find it? If you want, you can pause the video and think about it. It's a very beautiful idea. Okay, so in the game, Carlsen plays the move knight to g6. Wow, what a sacrifice. It's just a crazy sacrifice. It's beginning. Okay, black captures on g6, although that's not the best move. As you will see later, black had to play rook e8, but then after knight e7, rook e7, dc5, white has an extra pawn because black can not capture this pawn because they'll lose the queen or rook. Okay, so black has to accept a slightly worse position after rook e8 in this situation, but black doesn't do that. Instead, after knight g6, black captures the knight on g6 with f into g6. Now white plays queen to e6 check, hitting the king. Now where will the king go? Remember, black cannot block the check. Okay, blocking the check is usually very risky because you put yourself in an unnecessary pin, and here white even wins after h into g6. There is just no way this rook will be lost on the next move. At the same time, if let's say black plays king h7, white will capture on g6, king takes, and white will simply bring one more attacking piece into the game with rook to d3. Okay, yes, white is a piece down, but they have a lot of attacking potential here. So in the game, instead of rook f7 or king h7, black decided to play the move king to h8, putting his king in the corner. White very calmly took h into g6, opening up the h file for the rook. The black knight went back to defend this pawn on the h file, but white said, I don't care, I am going to bang open your king side with the move bishop takes h6. Now this bishop has got rid of this pawn, so black is like, okay, I will capture back with my pawn, you just gave me a free bishop. White is like, yes, and take this rook as well. White sacrifices the rook as well, rook h6 check. Now the knight captures the rook and queen to e7. And now if you just take a look at the position, white is down not only a rook, white is also down a piece. Okay, so white is down a rook and a piece. But the black king is so exposed, it has no pawns to guard it. At the same time, white has a threat to give a checkmate on h7. So it's very difficult for the black king to get out of it. This is where again, when you evaluate a position, king safety is what matters the most. If your king is unsafe, it doesn't matter how big of an army you have. Okay, you need your king to be safe. Otherwise, if it gets checkmated, you lose the game. Okay, white also has to be careful. If let's say this rook jumps up somewhere and this queen goes somewhere, there could be back rank issues in the future. Okay, white has to take care of that. It's not easily winning yet. Queen e7 happened. There is a threat of checkmate on h7. So black had to block that checkmate threat with knight to f7. The knight comes in the middle. Now very simply, Carlsen says, okay, I'm going to grab the knight. G takes f7. Black is like, okay, thank God there is no checkmate here. Now my king can start escaping with the move king to g7. And here, ladies and gentlemen, Carlsen plays the move rook to d3. Remember, there is this queen that can come here and give a checkmate. But right now, there is the white queen that is looking at this pawn, at this square. So the black queen cannot come to e1. The black queen cannot come to e1. Okay, but remember, white has to be careful of that. Remember, white doesn't have time to play a move like a3. Okay, if they play a3, they'll lose this pawn and there is no attack. So white has to be fast. That's why white plays the move rook to d3. But remember, if white just slips up a little, there is going to be a checkmate on e1. Boom. So white has to be careful here. After rook d3, black plays the move rook to d6. White sees white's rook is coming to g3. It does. So black's rook also comes in the middle to defend against the threat. Now remember, once again, you cannot capture like this because there will be a checkmate if you do that. Don't forget, your back rank is also weak. White's back rank is also weak. Carlsen knows that. So after rook g6 check, he plays a very nice move with the queen. He plays queen to e5 check, hitting the king. Now where will the king go? Now the king captures this pawn. If let's say the king goes to h7, then you have rook h3 check, giving a check to the king. The king cannot go anywhere. Black is forced to play this move. Now you can play queen f5 check. King moves, and now you can play the move rook g3 check, giving a check again, king h8, queen e5 check. A lot of checks, but in the end you end up checkmating the black king like this. Okay, so that's why in the game black decided, okay, there is a check, so where will the king go? I will take this pawn on e5. I will take the pawn on f7. Now white plays queen to f5 check. One more check. where is the black king going to go? Now, this is a lost position for black. If the black king goes to the g file, they're simply going to lose the rook, and the next move there will be a checkmate on g7. And at the same time, if the black king goes to e file, once again, you don't want to capture this rook. Hey, I told you, don't capture this rook, otherwise you will get checkmated here. You want to be careful. So, in this position, black, after he plays king e7, you have to give this check so that this rook guards this pawn, guards this square, and once the king moves, then you can capture this rook. Alright, this is the winning trick. Okay, so now what many people would do here with black is they would simply resign the game. Okay, it's very shameful to lose to a 13-year-old. So many people, what they would do is they would just resign the game here. Okay, but we have to appreciate what black did here. Instead of resigning the game, he played on and he allowed his opponent to checkmate him. Okay, the black player allowed Magnus to checkmate him, and I think this is a very, very nice way to show respect to your opponent for a game they played well. Okay, because at the end of the day, whenever you see a checkmate on the board after a beautiful attack, it's just a very, very pleasant feeling. Okay, as an attacker. So we really have to give credit to black for allowing the checkmate on the board. Black played the move rook f6, and Carlsen was able to finish off the game with a very nice checkmate. Can you see it? Queen to d7 mate. This king cannot go anywhere because all these g file squares are controlled by the rook. All these e file squares are controlled by the queen. And this rook, they stop the king from going here or here. This king gets checkmated in the middle. I hope you liked this game. If you liked it, do subscribe to my channel for more such awesome videos. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you. Bye bye.